So you like a bit of sports,
I do, yeah. I played a good handball down Handball Alley Longford, which is a great house spot Longford.
Where was that located?
At the back of the cinema, back of the old town hall.
Gone now.
Oh, it's gone now, yeah. But it was a fine handball alley and good handballers in it too in that time. Plenty of good handballers from Westport.
Who were the better ones around here at the time?
There was very useful fellas at the time. They were older than me, most of them. Chris Gibbons was one of them. He's dead too. He's have a pub there in High Street. And Sean Neal is another man who was at it. I was only young for at the time. We used to be watching the fellas playing and took it up ourselves in and kept at it. Did Christian Brothers in for a while in the football, and then I got interested in the rugby.
How did you get involved in rugby?
Well, I got involved because we had a few old customers who used to come into us and they were rugby players. Lord of Mercy, they're all dead now. Paddy Hoban, Dave McKeown, Davy O'Dowd, Brian O'Dowd, Brendan Jeffers, and those fellas. They used to come in after their matches and that, and they always talking about rugby and so forth, you know.
Okay. What age were you when you started rugby?
I played a minor match. I think it was about 16 around an Easter weekend. One time against Ballina. Owen Drucken was playing and Gare Gold, I remember them too, and one of the Levels from Mackle was playing. And I can't remember any more of them. And after that then, there wasn't any rugby for a while. I started when I was about 18, I suppose. And the first time ever I played in Fahey's Field in Galway, in an old friendly against UCG. We won 6-3.
And what year was that about?
That should be about 1958, I suppose.
And you won?
We won 6-3 that day anyway, yeah.
Because they used to be good then?
Pardon?
The UCG used to be good.
UCG used to be fairly good, but it's only an old friend, I suppose, probably their seconds maybe, you know.
Yeah.
But at the time there was grand old fellas playing that year, and they were nearly at the end of their tether too, but they were great footballers. Peter Ryan now was one of them, and the Gills, Noel Gill and Pearce and Frank, they were playing. Aidan Redmond was playing the centre, I remember at the time. Stephen and Lee Welsh, of course, were playing. Bob Kelly, Jerry Gallagher, Fergus Gallagher.
They had a bit of success, didn't they?
No, they were a good lot at that time. Miles Shanton, Lord Mercer, was with them in the time, so Peter and Hugh Ryan was with them. And they won, and what do you call him, Tim Collins and Valkenberg from Ball used to play, I can't remember his first name now. And they had a good outside them times. They won the league in Cup a couple of times that time in the 50s.
In the mid-50s,
53, 54, 55, round them times, yeah. And I had a good old interest in watching it in them times before that, you know. Then I got interested in playing and
what position used you playing?
When I started first I was in the second row. One of the earliest members that fell in the front row was a couple of Scottish vets working in town at the time for Hugh Ryan. And one there was a fellow named Ian Macmillan. He was a final Scottish trialist. And he was as fine a fellow as ever you met in all your life. Strong, he was as strong as a bull. he was in front of me and I was pushing along with Sherry Garrett in the second row.
Now what weight are you then about?
I was about 18 then.
18, sorry.
18 short or thereabouts.
You're a fine hefty man that time.
I tell you that. It wasn't much you shift with them times.
So you moved into the front row then, did you?
I moved into the front row then. They left in after that. We went to Scotland on a tour with them over to Ayr and Ayr Drossan. And we had a great out.
In what year?
Well, I'd say it was St. Patrick's Weekend, 59, I think it was.
59.
I think it was 59 now. We went over, we left here on a Thursday, we didn't get back till Tuesday.
Did you play many matches?
Two.
Did you win them? No.
Oh, I have to do with them. We had a couple of great characters with us, so we had them in terms of Lord of Mercy and Paul O'Tony O'Grady, Brenda McBride. You couldn't get better fellas anywhere. McAleer, and then we had two, a fellow from Ballina, then David Michaels, and another fellow from Crossmire, John Cawley. I think he's dead since the Borough Devil. And he was playing the second match anyway. He got the ball in the centre, he ran the wrong way. That's how the head people to us.
He needs a bit of coaching, obviously.
He did indeed. But we had a great time, sure to God. And the Scotch fellas now, they were brilliant fellas. We drove up to Belfast, went across from Larkin to Stranraer, 30 shillings return on the boat.
And had you cars?
Pardon?
Had you cars?
Oh, the Scotch fellas had cars. They had 3 or 4 cars, and we picked up what do you call them above them in Clones or Monaghan, the super son, Moore. The superintendent in the town today was Superintendent Moore. Noel Moore, I think. Was it Noel is his name? And he was a garden there. We brought him with us too. And I'm on duty.
So you had a wide-ranging team.
Oh, stop. We had a great team.
Yeah.
Great fun.
There was only one club in Mayo at that time, was there?
That's all.
Was Ballina existent at that time?
Ballina was existent at the time, yeah. There was no team in Castlebar. But you know, anytime we won anything in Westport, it was obviously Castlebar for their two players for Westport.
That's right.
Until we ever won anything.
Yeah, even in '75,
Yeah,
we had a
that's right, yeah.
Castlebar
Yeah,
man.
we always had a couple of Castlebar players, one or two anyway. And they were great old club in and always turned up, you know.
What was the highlight of your rugby career?
I suppose winning the junior league and the junior cup, and I got a couple of caps from Connacht junior caps in the time. That was about the height of it. I suppose that the junior league was the best one of all, really, because that was
The league of the cup time?
the league.
The league, in what year was that?
64, 65.
64,
That was the best one of all.
Why did that stand out?
Because I tell you why, we went to Galway that day. It was on an Easter Sunday, a wet old bad day, and Bob Kelly couldn't come, and Jim Lyons, the shop seat, used to play with us, but he had been in UCG for 3 or 4 years before that, and he played Sigerson for UCG, so of course he didn't want to be seen playing against UCG. And the team we had on the day, we had what was it called? Martin Jennings in the front row, who started playing from Ballarone, and Jack McAleer and myself. And the second row was Charlie Garavan, and who was this along with Charlie Garavan now? Let me think for a minute. And I go to the back row anyway. The back row was Hugh O'Malley was captain and Brenda McBride, and the lock was Pádraig Burns on the man, your next door neighbour. And he was after coming back from Lagos after 2 years teaching out there, and he was as brown as a berry. and of course they thought we were about to bring him from South Africa or somewhere. Leaving Stephen Welsh with the out half and scrum half. The two centres were Joe Kilbride, he used to work in the Bank of Ireland here, he went to Ballarone, that's who he organised Ballarone for us. And Jerry O'Donnell was in the second row, and I'm Jerry Gallagher from Ballarone. We picked him up in Ballarone on the way. He was starting to play, and he's still playing for Ballina. I met him not long ago, and he's 65 years of age, and he was still playing for Ballina. A great character. And the two wingers were Peter River, and the other centre was Alistair Rogers. He worked in the fisheries in Newport. He was a Scotch lad, grand footballer. And Peter River was one wing, and Philip Curtin was on the other wing. He worked in Ulster Bank here. And the full back was Noel Quinn. He was the rep for Players' Wills, lived here in Westport. And we were inside in the little place in the sports ground, and tosh for the match. And Hugh O'Malley won the toss, he was the captain. And the Lord of Mercy are leaving, but don't decide we go out, which side we'll play, which way the wind is blowing. And we were out anyway, and we were after played, there was a match before us, Galway we played at Low in the senior cup match, and the place was in pure muck. And the wind was blowing down the road, a good howling wind, and hailstones, and we were 19 points up at half time, 19-0, and we won 24-0. And Lex Ryan, the Lord of Mercy, was in charge of UCG at the time, is that right?
I knew, yeah.
And he wouldn't give us a friendly for 6 years after. He blamed Pádraig Burns, this black Africa we had. We had a packed team we met out, and we only had a Midland team. If we had a full team, we'd have hammered them all together. Like Jerry O'Donnell was only starting to play at the time. You know, and they play anyway.
Can you remember the details of the 75 Cup win?
I can indeed, yeah.
Sorry,
That was a famous day.
I wasn't that one, so I want to hear about it. I forget half of this.
Yeah,
Go on.
that was a famous day too. Oh Lord God, Nick Buck scored the try that day. 5-3 it was, and I remember Christian Colley gave away a penalty with about 10 minutes to go in front of the post, from 25 yards away. He started whinging. I said, will you shut up the fuck? I said, he hasn't got it at all yet. Won the kills from Ballyconneely and he missed the damn thing. And we won 5-3, is that right?
That was right, yeah. It was a good match.
So it was a great match.
Yeah,
And we won everything that day in the scrum and line out, and we couldn't bloody well score. You know, it was unbelievable. And even that day against, in the 64 match, we never lost a scrum there or a row on that day. Do you know that?
We had a very solid scrum for that period, 4 or 5 years.
We had a great solid scrum.
There wasn't many pushing us.
There wasn't nobody pushing us around that time, no.
Somebody got injured in that match. Was it,
Jerry Gerrity.
Gerrity came on, did he?
Jerry Gerrity came on. Christy Colley hooked his ribs. And Jerry Gerrity, I think he was the first up in Connacht Rugby, Jerry Gerrity, at the time.
Was he the first up
I think
in
he
Irish
was.
Rugby?
In Irish Rugby, maybe.
I think he was, but definitely was in Connacht.
The first in Connacht anyway,
He was, yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Was there a good crowd there that day?
There was a great crowd in it, there was, yeah. There was a great crowd for the old Junior Cup too. Hugh O'Malley was the captain. He brought 2 bottles of champagne with him. He went into the scaff after and got the big cup filled up with Guinness and he poured the 2 bottles of champagne into it.
That was for the league, was it? The league one, yeah. And how did that go down the scaffold? All right, she didn't mind, no?
No, she didn't mind, no. She didn't mind it. She was like to have it.
Corla Ford, is it?
Corla Ford is right, yeah.
Legend.
The legend is right.
The legend, yeah.
That's right.
So was there much celebrations after winning the Junior Cup?
There was great home celebration, like, you know, but sure, like at the time, Rugby was only kind of second or third in the town, you know, not an awful lot of noise taken us, but we celebrated ourselves and we had a good time.
Well, I mean, it might have been second, but there was a huge crowd there. That the stand was full, remember that?
Oh, it was full, yeah.
It was all Westport.
It was all Westport.
It was all Westport, yeah.
It was all Westport, right.
That was one of the better days, yeah.
One of the great days.
You went on a couple of trips, did you?
Well, I went on the air trip, all right, and then we went to Isle of Man.
Isle of Man. Tell us about the Isle of Man.
Isle of Man, 9-seater from Castlebar.
Right.
And the first man on the plane that day in Castlebar was Christy Corey, because he was the smallest. He was lying down at the bottom of it. And I was sitting above beside the pilot. I was the heaviest beside him. He was a Canadian, and he was smoking Rothmans and flying this plane at 2,000 feet.
That's right, yeah. Christie's baby arrived around that time.
That's right, around the same time, that's right, yeah.
He tells that story.
He does, yeah. He does indeed tell that, right, yeah. And the Jersey was the next trip. We spent a week in Jersey, we had a great time in Jersey. I think we only played 1 match in it or 2. One, I think it's not we played.
We were short a few players, weren't we?
We were, yeah. But like, the weather was lovely, right. I took up the golf, I think, around 1979 and that, and alright, enjoyed it and kept me kind of fit, and I still enjoy it.
That's your main game now, is it?
That's the main game now, yeah. I haven't been down to Rugby enough in national years. I don't go down too often, a few times now.
As I say, you've moved on.
We moved on, please God, yeah. Although I played one time after. I remember we played in no match against some crowd. I packed up, I suppose, about 4 or 5 years at the time.
I remember.
We played in no match against some crowd. They were supposed to be old timers, but they were all young fellas from Lockburn or somewhere, so in England. And we beat them too.
We beat them, yeah. We beat them.
That's right. But you played a bit after that then again, you did? We played a few times then after that.
Not a lot, yeah, not a lot after that, yeah.